Hello, hello. All right, I'm checking to make sure that everything is lighting up and I'm good to go on the recording, but I think I'm good. Welcome. So, my name is Jessica Mazzo. I'm known online as Jess the Empress. I am a professional tarot reader and intuitive. It is my life's work to support y'all, to give you guys the insights on what's going on energetically, so that way we're not like floundering around. Is that the right word in this? So we're not flopping around like a fish, I guess. So we're navigating life. We're feeling like we've got some control. So you can tell by the title, we're getting into the Chariot, which is the tarot card for 2023. I'm going to kick us off with understanding how I know that. There's some math and numerology in the formula. It's pretty simple. But I'm also going to give us the tea for the year ahead. I have already posted a highlight of this on my Instagram. So if you're not familiar, find me there. It's at Jess underscore the underscore Empress. And these in the information in here is going to be highlighted, but I wanted to go and do more of an in-depth explanation of the chariot. So getting to know what year we're in from the tarot's perspective is simple. You take the number of the year, you take the total year, right? So it's 2023, and you add up those numbers individually. So 2 plus 2 plus 3 equals 7. And 7 is the number that is connected to the chariot in the major arcana card. So very simple. I want to show you the card from two different decks. One of them is a color deck, and the other one is just like an all pink background. They have slightly different images on them. These are the two that I feel the most connected with. The pink card with no color other than pink is actually the newer updated imagery. The colored card is the one that is the older image, actually, because you'll see that there's either two sphinxes or two horses, and the two horses are the older image. It's been updated to sphinxes as time has gone on. Neither right or wrong, just different artist interpretations of what they pick up in the energy. And I think that both apply here ultimately when it comes to us feeling like we're going to be going in a lot of different directions. And I really believe that we're going to be in the messiness of our choices this year. And I don't mean that to say that our choices are going to result in negative consequences and there's a mess to clean up, but I do mean that sometimes making choices can be messy. Okay. I'm going to reapply some chapstick really quickly because I want to have like a good flow. And you know me, we've been doing this long enough where I'll probably have a coffee break and a water break. All right. So that's how I arrived to the numerology. So the astrological signs and planets associated with the chariot are Cancer and the moon. So, water, baby. We are in water. We are in the depths of it. We're in the shallow ends of it. We are overwhelmed by it. We are floating in it. It's all the things. Okay. And just like water changes many shapes, so do we. Our emotional body, our feelings, our sensations take a lot of different forms. In this is a mix of intuition and psychic prowess. These things are connected. And this year, we're deepening our understanding to ourselves. There's a very important part of this year, and I'm excited about this. So, the way that I've learned about tarot and the major arcana, which is again where the chariot card comes from, is the major arcana section of the deck. That part of the deck is split into three lines. And I wrote them down so that way I don't like stumble across them. Or actually, I already have them written down. I'm just pulling them from a book I've got. So the three stages of the major arcana The first part of it is the material plane, and this is the Fool to the Chariot. So we're leaving the material plane this year. This is a major transition, and what we're moving into is the mental plane, and that is going to go 2024 and beyond, but it kicks us off in 2024 with the Strength card all the way to Temperance. After we leave Temperance, we move into the Devil in the World, which is then covering the spiritual plane. So we're leaving the material world, and the way that this energetically reads, we've had this culmination of experiences up until the Chariot about who we are. We've recognized that our environment has shaped us to a degree. Our parents or primary caregivers have shaped us to a degree. The people around us as we were growing up have shaped us to a degree. The society and culture that is around us as we were growing up has shaped us to a degree. And now we're like, who the hell am I? Like, who am I? What am I doing? What is this even? And we're exploring this. This is not okay, it's messy because it requires you thinking about who you are and who you want to be and then taking action to get there. It's not as simple as like, I want to be a millionaire. And then you wake up and you're like, okay, I'm a millionaire now. Like, we know that that's not the case. We know that a lot of emotional and mental work have to be done along with the practical work of setting yourself up to actually like be a millionaire, no matter how you do it. So we really want to focus on our feelings. And I feel in this is about knowing that we don't have to be in our feelings for forever, but that we're going to possibly new depths and letting people see us in those depths. There was something I read recently, and it might have been a Brene Brown quote. So correct me if you know specifically, but somebody, I think it was her, talks about the difference between openness and vulnerability. And I believe that this is such an important distinction as we go into 2023. Vulnerability is the messiness. It's not having it all together. It's feeling exposed and feeling raw. Whereas openness is I'm telling you just something that I've already processed. I'm disclosing to you inner information that may or may not change your perspective of me, but often creates a sense of closeness through me being open. The vulnerability is like I'm in my trigger and I'm letting people see me not have all the words or not look that great in terms of my behavior and just being messy. This is the underbelly of the Cancerian crab. We've got the shell on it. We've learned the old coping skills from how we grew up, from how society said we should be. But now we're like, I don't know if this crab shell is like the vibe anymore. I don't feel like this is my home and there is a better way. And you know what the crab has to do? They have to leave the shell. They have to have this time where they are exposed to the elements that are around them and possibly, predators. And this isn't a scary one. This is just like a realistic depiction of nature before they get into the other crab shell. There's the in between. So, one main topic is the messiness, but the other thing that I highlighted on my Instagram post is just leaving comfort to find new comforts. The main theme though in here is the in between, which is completely discomfort. Again, going back to the vulnerability and being like, okay, I'm not totally loving where I'm at, even though I must admit this crab shell is keeping me safe. It's not keeping me safe. It's just that I don't feel at home in it anymore. This is how we leave the material plane. This is how we learn how to continue to develop ourselves on our own, on our own. And this is again why it's so scary to be in the chariot. I am not alone in predicting that 2023 is going to be a hot freaking mess. I said it. I said it and I can't take it back. It's going to be a mess. That's not a bad thing though, because I believe that we are in our humanity when we're messy. If you think about the picturesque BS from Instagram and from these curated moments of how my life is great and I'm photoshopped and I'm perfect and I'm all things. Oh, I mean, the realism of life could not be farther from that. You know, there's nothing glamorous about the majority of our days and nights and the transition between the two. And that's not a problem. As we grow, I believe we can continue to recognize, oh, everyone's in the chariot, everyone's growing, everyone's messy, everyone's got their times when they are called to step out of their shell and to be exposed. Now, the other thing I want to note is like crabs don't walk straight forward, they walk sideways. So the way that you grow this year isn't going to be again like I identify I want to be a millionaire and now I'm a millionaire, or I identify I want to be a millionaire. I only have to do three things before I get there, and they're all sort of lined up for me, and it's super easy. No, no. We are going to come at our growth from however we come at it. Honestly, like that sideways perspective, what I mean by that is it's quirky, it's weird, it's queer, it doesn't make any sense. It doesn't have to. You're where you're at so you can grow. This is a perspective that I have been in myself for a while, like years. And also, I teach this to my clients. You can't grow from any other place other than where you're at. If you were supposed to be growing from somewhere else, that's where the universe would have you. So you have to radically accept where you're at and not make excuses and say, okay, I'm just going to come at this sideways. I think probably some weird, quirky sideways steps are better than no steps at all when it comes to my growth. So let's get into the cards really quick. I'm going to show you for those of you on camera. You're going to see the Morgan Greer. That's the deck with all the color. And then I don't remember the name of the pink deck. Hold on, let me see if I can find it. I just think it's like, yeah, there is no name because I guess it's just the Smith and Rider-Waite imagery, but all pink. So this particular deck that I'm showing you is the Smith Rider, but there was no specific name given to the all pink deck. So I want you to just take a moment and notice what you're noticing. And then, of course, same advice applies to everybody off camera as I give every time, which is find images online that resonate with you. It could be the ones that I've mentioned or different ones, whatever really feels like speaks to you is you listening to your intuition. So I personally like the image of the horses better, but what's missing from that image? A few things, but primarily leaving behind the walled city. This again points to independence, leaving the crab shell, leaving the comfort of home, leaving the security. And I want to speak to this because that can be so scary, even if it wasn't the best place to be, because the unknown can often be even scarier until we're there. Okay. I'm not saying it is always scary because it's not, mostly not, but we don't know that until we get into it. Right. So I have another highlight, which is not knowing where we're going or who we're becoming, but knowing we cannot stay the same. This is the practice of your evolution. I believe that your evolution and your spirituality are one and the same. I know that some people don't believe in spirituality and or they do not adhere to spiritual practices or even label what they do in terms of self-development as spiritual. I'm totally fine. Insert whatever frame of reference feels good for you here. I'm just telling you my perspective. And that's all. You can take it or leave it. So in our self-development, in our growing, we have this constant decision in front of us of who do we want to be? How do we want to be that person? And we can also say, I don't know. I don't know. Because the thing is you've only experienced what you've experienced. You haven't experienced it all. And so the novice energy coming from the chariot is so important because, again, we've only had the parental experiences. It's not like small town experiences. That's not what I'm saying, because you can have totally be like world traveled at this point, but you still haven't experienced it all. There are still things that your soul, you as an individual, as a person, a human being, like haven't done, haven't seen, haven't felt, haven't smelled, touched, whatever. And it's on its way to you, but you are developing. And I want you to think about this year as your personal development year. You don't have to know 100%. You have to be open to trying on different things. I saw this video a while ago of it was a hermit crab in particular, but it like literally tried on a shell and then was like, I'm not really vibing with this shell, and like crawled around and found a different shell and was like, ah, this one's so much better. And I want you to think about that. I want you to think about trying on different shells this year. What's so fascinating about this is that the Chariot, the Cancer card, is actually about stripping away a certain level of ego as we develop an ego. So, how this I feel like translates more cleanly into psychology is we're shaped by our early childhood experiences. We create these coping skills that get us to where we are right now. Now, I know, and I'll be clear, I'll give you an example of me. I know that when there was tension in my house growing up, I would do one of two things. One of them would be to people please and rush in and fix the situation, maybe pacify things, or shut down and dissociate and like play pretend like it wasn't even happening. Okay. So neither of those are very helpful for me now. As a kid in the environment that I was in, I was fine, right? Because if as a kid, you learn if I don't caretake my caretakers, then I will not have my needs met. So I would rather self sacrifice to the umph degree and have peace and have everyone else be happy than to risk not having my needs met. And also for me, like seeing other people's needs not be met, I felt like I could control things, right? And so I learned, okay, this is how you do this. Like you people please, you make this person happy, you placate them, whatever. And then my needs will be met. So in my adult life, though, that it doesn't work. Like absolutely not, because everybody else around me is an adult. I don't have to caretake anybody anymore. Like it's not what I'm here to do. So I say this because there's a level of maturity, there's a level of growth. But did you know what? It wasn't me just shedding the old shell of like, I'm no longer a people pleaser. I'm going to put on the shell of like totally having healthy boundaries. No, no, no. That's not how it works. As again, we're going to go through the messiness. I had to get divorced. First of all, I had to marry somebody who basically reflected back to me my own codependency so that I could heal, and I choose to see that as the perspective. Like that's my choice to see that relationship as that lesson. You can take it however you want. It was my experience. My experience was a lot of abuse, and recognizing like how I enable the abuse because I people please, and I did a lot of other things, but basically hands up for being a recovering codependent. So I had to learn how to be independent and how to regulate myself and how to move into a state of interdependence with an individual and partner as opposed to codependence. And there was a lot of messiness, a lot of trying on different shells, a lot of questioning who I am if I'm not this person. Where does my worth lie if I am not being validated in this way? And it was not pretty. This time period was also my Saturn return. If you know anything about that in astrology, it tends to happen between 27 and 31, 32. And I had to grow up. Life, it asked me to grow up because ultimately what I wanted to do, and this was, I was in school to be a social worker. So like I'm getting a divorce and I really feel like I can't take people farther than I've gone myself. So how can I possibly work with a person who is really in the throes of struggling with codependency and their identity as a codependent, but wanting to be independent? How can I work with them if I've never done that myself? How can I guide them if I haven't gone through the throes of it myself, right? I don't know that I could. So again, I believe that my evolution was like, you've got to do this not only for you, mostly for you, of course, but also because this is how you benefit other people as you do it. You are the person in this lifetime who is meant to walk the walk, walk what they talk your shit, back it up, kind of thing. So there was a lot of this trial and error, and we need to give ourselves permission for that. We don't have to know. We have to be bold enough to try. And this is the big energy, I believe, coming here. But what we reinforce when we are determined and when we are open and when we are courageous, which are all really beautiful energies that come from the archetype of Cancer and the Chariot, is that we can be these individuals who leave behind so much crap and keep going, right? The energy here is like, I will not be stopped. I am a person and energy to be reckoned with, even though I don't know where I'm going and who I am. I do know that on some level, like I'm pretty cool. I'm pretty tough. I'm pretty tenacious or whatever. And we reinforce a healthy sense of ego, one that can overcome adversity and break boundaries and limitations, things that held us back, like the old coping skills of codependency. And codependency is the shadow side of Cancer. Codependency and people pleasing and caretaking. And I don't mean caretaking as in, oh, you have a baby and you have to caretake them because they need your help. No, no, no. I am talking about placating, and I am really talking about being in a role where you are dependent on that other person in your life because they reinforce that you're the giver or the doormat or the person who has the sacrificer, the martyrdom type of energy. Very heavy in Cancer if it's not corrected. And again, we step into this year so that we can correct what needs to be corrected for our evolution. The other energy here is healing the parent wounds because talking about maturity, we're responsible for ourselves and for growing the fuck up. Yeah, I said it. We're responsible. It's not anyone else's responsibility. If you want to grow up, if you want to mature, you need to do it because your parents did what they did, but you're not there anymore. As in, um, you're not, you're probably not at home. If you are watching this while you're at home, it's cool. But if you're over the age of 18, you are an adult according to Western culture's perspectives on family dynamics. But my point is you're responsible for yourself. You're responsible for your personal development. Despite what you didn't get or inherited, you can change things. Epigenetics are real. I know there is a lot that goes into that, and I might do another episode, not on this topic, not connected to the chariot, I mean, but about epigenetics. Essentially, things that are inherited in your DNA may or may not express themselves in different environments. And this is how you begin to change historical cycles in your family. You have to give yourself the permission to change. Again, coming from the energy of the Cancer of Chariot, recognizing that maybe your parents didn't want you to change because that meant that the family system wouldn't function the same, and there was benefits to them being who they shaped you to be. Okay? Take that in for a minute. You get to be who you want to be. You're going to have to work for it. It's not going to be handed to you. I know that that's annoying for a lot of people because it's probably agitating that part of you that is still connected to fantasy, which can be a big, again, part of Cancerian energy. With the emotion, with the imagination, with the intuition, you can know, okay, I want this certain life and I want to be this type of person. And then that wounded inner child only fantasizes about it being handed or just sort of magically happening. And there's no real groundedness on, oh, I'm going to have to work for this. I'm going to have to day in and day out show up and be the version of the person that I want to be. And I can't make excuses. I've got to say, if today my day is full of crap because life happens like that and my week is full of crap, how I respond to the crap is the person I am. I don't like the way I responded before. I'm going to sit down and craft a, a version of myself according to my values so that I can have this frame of reference and remind myself, you know what? Yelling about this is not the new version of me. The new version of me is getting to a place where I'm a little more calm about things. In the interim, okay, in between the shells, the vulnerability, the messiness is me not getting it right every time, is taking a step back and feeling so angry that I want to yell, but I'm not yelling. You know, this is 2023. It's the in between, it's the messiness. It's not quite being there yet, but that's not a problem because you can't get there if you don't go through it. There's like that little saying, the way to grow through it is to go through it, something like that. And again, this could not be more connected to this year. So then creating an inner, oh, let me back up. Let me back up. Let me touch on the parent wound. Again, them not giving us what we maybe needed, or us inheriting things that we didn't need, but also did need. We can change the things that we don't like, essentially. And I do believe that we can collectively come out of a place and recognize the failings of our caretakers, society, the systems that we grew up in. We can recognize the failings of them and drop the blame, hold space for accountability, but not point the finger and say, all of my problems are because of you, when that's probably not the case. There are lots of contributing factors as to why we all have problems today and seek therapy, not because of one person normally. And again, in recognizing they did what they did from their place of consciousness, and it's not an excuse. Some parents do fail us deeply. Some environments do fail us deeply. Some systems do fail us deeply. If we're not in them anymore, then we are so much farther than so many people because we have a certain privilege. We've had the privilege to leave. We've had the privilege to, I don't want to say, I mean, escape might even be the right word in some scenarios, and it might not feel like a privilege. However, for those of us on our journey of evolution, it is about not staying the same and not being in the same places or around the same people. So we're healing the parent wound. We're healing what we didn't get or got that we need to now change. And we're learning how to be our own mother and our own father, how to say the things that we needed to hear, how to pick ourselves up in ways that we needed to be picked up and nurtured, and how to lay more of a practical framework for living in the world in a way that we needed it laid for us. That's a lot of the energy. Then I was going to shift into creating inner feelings of safety as we transition and go through our days on a smaller level. Even though this is a major arcana card, I do believe that we love ourselves more this year, and we learn that loving ourselves means having tough conversations. It means we show up in the messiness with no judgment or less judgment than we've ever had before. I know no judgment might be too high of an expectation, at least if judgment is surfacing, which it's probably going to. It still surfaces with me, whatever. We can drop it, right? We can say, I see you there, but I don't need you here as I move into this next step of my self-care and self-love journey today or this week or whatever. I feel like there's a lot of this having sweet and tender moments with the world around us as well. I do believe we're going to be connecting a lot more with each other through the messy times. That is such a uniting energy. If you're open for it, you have to be open. You have to be open to receive that connecting point. Because otherwise, the opposite is like being in judgment. The opposite is, oh, they're so messy, like really just looking at other people and being like, yikes. And I will say, there's a difference between the red flag messiness of an individual that really doesn't want to take accountability for their life and to grow up, and the messiness of an individual who is just like you and I, right? Trying to figure it out and like treading water and doing the best they can with what they have, and making mistakes along the way, and being compassionate with themselves and being kind with themselves, or as kind as they can be in the moment. That's a different vibe. And I believe the softness of that is what is so interconnected in all of our experiences this year. There's something softer about the vulnerability. What I feel is like there's the it's the shell is one that we put on, like we choose to do it to be protected. We need that, right? But the energy I'm picking up, it's like the universal energy of protection, the universal energy of safety. Now, I want to say this for those of you who are developing your spirituality and your connectedness to your guides, higher self, universe. This is a great year to lean into that. Again, creating safety in each moment, in each day to day, in your own messiness. Your guides aren't hovering over you like, she's doing it again. Look, are there memes that perpetuate that? 100%. Are they funny? Yes, because we need levity. Hello, it's crazy out here. That's not how it works, though. They are there with open arms. They really are. I promise. And you can call on them. You can connect with them. You can lean on them. They want you. Like, you're always allowed. there's never a time and a place. You're never too messy. You're never too messy for them. And that's just, I love that, right? Don't you love that? You're never too messy for them. So I say this because I'm going to show you the pink Smith Rider-Waite image again, because there's over the head of the charioteer, the one driving the chariot, us, is a halo of stars on the crown. Sometimes it's depicted like this one, the stars are depicted on the banister. I don't know what you call that, of the chariot. There's guides everywhere. The universal energy flows through you, and there's a rod that the charioteer is holding, again, a conscious connection to the universe. channeling power down and commanding the will, we learn this year that we don't always win by willpower alone. We win through a collaborative, co creative openness to work with the energy that is around us. I love that this is what's happening. We're right where we need to be. I know that might be annoying to hear because you're like starting your year off maybe horribly. And I want to bow to that experience. I have started years off horribly. I probably will also start years off horribly, like in my future. You know, I can't imagine that it's always going to be like, love it. It is what it is. So I say this because I'm feeling, I'm feeling, I'm feeling you guys. I'm just feeling like I guess it's probably my Cancer rising as well that's coming out, but it's this protectiveness, but recognizing that I cannot protect you from the feelings of not knowing where you're going and developing yourself and how uncomfortable that is and the messiness, and you can protect yourself. And there's also something to be said for recognizing when you're vulnerable doesn't mean that you're under attack or that you'll be attacked. And here we go again, excuse me, here we go again, allowing other people to see us in our messiness. Let me explain something to you guys. When I left that relationship, that marriage, when I was vulnerable, that became a place where data was collected and used against me. If I shared something, it was weaponized. And so I had a choice to make in my relationships, in all my, and I will still always have to make this choice. Do I share this information and risk this person, whoever's in front of me at the time, right? Maybe weaponizing my information that I share against me? Or do I hold my cards close and not show them at all? Depending on the person, I make the choice, right? To keep it close or to open up. It's whatever. My discretion is mine to adhere to, but yours is yours to adhere to. But the choice is always there. You don't know you have a choice until you can slow down and step out of the old coping. Unfortunately, what I did before was think, if I just keep sharing, if I just keep opening up, they'll see me. They won't keep doing this. They won't keep hurting me. They say they care. So why are they doing this? And oh God, I just was like, I had to learn how to keep my cards a little closer, and that's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. And I'm not saying that I closed down and my relationship is moving forward. Not at all. It's just that I learned boundaries. That's what it is. I mean, for me, that's what it came down to, which just makes total sense with codependency. We're learning boundaries this year. I know some of you were like, no, Jessica, why? I didn't do it. I'm just telling you what I see. Don't be mad at me. Don't shoot the messenger, as they say. So that's really the bigger messages I got here. So I asked everybody on Instagram to journal and meditate on these main themes. And I had also said, I believe a lot of you are feeling them already. I know that we're already into the new year. But when I posted this, it was like a few days before the end of December. And so I believe if you reflect back between October and November, a lot of you will have already felt the vulnerability around the edges of your life. You'll feel like you'll be like, oh my God, yes, there actually has been like a major invitation from the universe to, one, ask myself who I want to be. And then two, have my own back to be that person. The thing with parents is they're supposed to ask you to check in with yourself so you can figure out who you are. Like as a kid, I was really open, of course, which is without the correct guidance, why I became codependent. I needed someone to say, I'm having an emotional moment and I actually don't need you to caretake me right now. I need you to go play. I need you to go have fun. This isn't your problem. This is an adult problem, or this is a mommy problem, a daddy problem, whatever problem. You are not causing this problem. Therefore, you are not responsible for fixing this problem. I need you to go have fun. And whatever your version of fun is, Jess, I need you to go do that. I needed to be pushed out the door with a lot of love. That really is it, And so I have to do that for myself today when I notice myself wanting to fall back into codependent, people pleasing patterns. I have to just allow myself to have more fun in my own life and not take on everything. Yeah, it's not always fun, but it's okay. Isn't it funny? Like learning how to have fun isn't always fun. It's like kind of a struggle, but that's okay. I'm here, I'm learning. So, yeah, that I feel pretty wrapped on this episode. I really do hope that there are some golden nuggets of information that you can take with you and that you can tap back into as you move throughout this year. My hope though is that you just really recognize how incredible you are and how powerful you are, and that you are supported in a lot of ways. If you don't have the people around you, that's not necessarily a problem, because again, you're leaving the walled city behind. The people who knew you might try to hold you to that version of yourself that lived in those walls. But you don't need to be held back. You need to explore. You need to determine who you are. And you need to, again, use your willpower to say, I'm going to shape myself. And life is going to give me the experiences I need for the shaping. If I say that my values are pleasure and fun, then I get to choose pleasure and fun throughout my day. Even if that means I've got a bunch of work to do on my plate or whatever, and the kids are screaming, and I've got all these bills to pay and whatever. Value pleasure and fun, however that looks. No excuses, because we're growing up this year. But we can love ourselves as we grow. Isn't that beautiful? Like, again, if you think about what parents do, they love us as we grow. We go through these fundamental times of change that are necessary so that we can be healthy, independent people. Why would we abandon that practice because we're on our own now? We wouldn't. That doesn't make any sense. So we need to look at ourselves like the parents we needed to look at us, essentially. Oh, okay. I love you all. If you have any feedback, drop it in the message box, drop it in the comments here on YouTube, drop it in a DM on Instagram. Again, I am back to answering DMs on IG, so that's exciting. Or send me an email, which is at jessica.mazzo@magicalsoulhealing.com. And we can chat there, whatever form resonates with you. Let me know. I will talk with you soon, and I'll be here in 2023. I'll be a hot mess with you. I love you. Bye.